So, this is our first set of notes for transformations unit. This is the translations notes. A lot of kids get these two things mixed up. Understand, transformations is all three of the actual movements that we can do. Translation is just one of them. So transformations is all three. Translation is the first one you're going to learn. We'll do reflections later on this week, then we'll do rotations as well. But we're doing translations today, which is a form of a transformation. So recall transformation, and y'all seen these before. I know you have, because I taught math in middle school, and we taught y'all this in middle school. An operation that maps an original figure called the pre-image. And just to give you an example of what a pre-image would look like, say I had a triangle on my graph, and I called it triangle ABC. And then onto a new figure called the image. Say if I was to map a triangle like that, the image would be represented like this: triangle A prime, B prime, C prime, with notations. We call this prime notation. This just helps us determine which figure was there first and which is the image that we moved with a translation, reflection, or rotation. Transformation can change the size, position, or orientation. In this case, the ones that we're doing in this unit, the size won't change. We'll do a transformation later on in the year called a dilation, and that one the size will change. But the ones we're doing for this unit, only thing that's going to change is position and orientation. Like I said, the first one is a translation. The easiest one is to vertically or horizontally slide a figure. Symbolic forms is two I'm going to show you for transformations. The first one is called map notation. It's just a mapping rule. So it's going to have your original coordinates for your original image, your X and Y. It's going to tell you how you're going to change them for a translation. It's going to show an arrow. And then an example could be X plus 1, comma, Y minus 1. This is a mapping rule for translation. It'll be easy for y'all to notice once y'all start doing this. Sorry. Draw my arrow a little better. That arrow too, when I read it, that arrow means something. It means maps to. So if I was to read this full out, I would say X, Y maps to X plus 1, Y minus 1. And I'll probably say the word mapping a little bit in this unit. It's just the word we use for when we move transformations via translation, reflection, or rotation. When you're moving, it's called mapping. Alright. The other way you'll see it written is called vector notation. It's a much simpler form, but we don't ever use this when we write stuff out. I always make y'all write stuff out using the mapping rule. But you'll see it written like this if they ask you to do a transformation sometimes. Vector notation, be a capital T for translation, and then they'll have arrows instead of parentheses for you. Not even arrows, almost like I don't even know what I want to call them. It's like a vector sign, I guess. Will it just be a 1, comma, -1, and then instead of closing it with parentheses, you'll close it with that sign on the other end. This is a vector notation translation rule. Both of these are saying the same thing. It's just one is written in vector notation, the other one is written as a mapping rule. This one reads the same thing as this. Basically, it says do a translation where your X is +1 and your Y is -1. Same thing, just way shorter. Alright. So like I say, in both of those, the x plus 1 represents a change in x. The y minus 1 represents a change in y. Don't worry about the or, I never fill that out. So let's do the first transformation. Not transformation, translation. Let's be specific down here. So in the directions it says graph and label each point in its image under the given translation. Give the new coordinates. It says rectangle QRST with vertices of Q at -6, -1, R at -1, 1, S at 1, -5, T at -2, -7. And then the rule for it, the mapping rule says XY maps to X plus 5, Y plus 7. First thing we need to do is graph, since they didn't graph it for us, and sometimes we do. On this one they didn't. We need to graph it ourselves. Yeah, I should know how to graph, so you don't have to wait on me for that. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Hope that's fine. Oh, -2. Like I was telling the kids in the other class, I always put all my points on first, then I go back and label my points. Just wait the label so I can put my letter on the right side of it. I don't want my letter to be inside my figure when I draw my lines. Now, this is where you're going to need a straight edge at. Now, I have a ruler, but I'm not about to give out 20-something rulers. What my kids used to do religiously last year, if they didn't have rulers, just use your ID. All you need is a straight edge. You ain't measuring nothing. You just need to make a straight line. So once you get that graph, that's your original image. Out to the side over here, I'm going to show you how to do it using math calculating. There's two ways you can do the translation. You can either use your original coordinates and calculate, get your new coordinates, or you can count. I'll show you calculation first, and then I'll talk about counting afterwards. Whichever one you find easier for yourself, you can do. So my original coordinates are up here on this one. So Q was -6, -1. I'm going to save some space between this though, and I'm going to put R a little further down. R was at -3, 1. S, save a little bit more space. 1, -5. And T was at -2, -7. These are my original coordinates that I got and that I plotted. Over here, my mapping rule says XY, my original coordinates, my original X and Y maps to X plus 5, Y plus 7. It's telling you what to do to move your figure. On my X values, I'm going to add 5 to all of them. On my Y values, I'm going to add 7 to all of them. So over here, under there, I'm going to do plus 5, plus 5, plus 5, plus 5 to all my X values. All my Y values, I'm going to come back and add 7 to all of those. If I do that math, it'll give me my new coordinates of where I should graph my image. So -6 plus 5, -1. And I told the kids in the other class, if you, I don't know how some of y'all are, you can do all your X values first and come back and do your Y's, or you can just bounce over if you don't get confused with your numbers. -1 plus 7. Then for R, -3 plus 5. And then 1 plus 7. And then 1 plus 5 for S. -5 plus 7. And the last one, -2 plus 5. And then -7 plus 7. These are my new coordinates after the translation of X plus 5, Y plus 7. Once you get those coordinates, then graph your image. Where, over here? Once you put your points on, make sure you put your new letters on with the notation. And then draw your lines, and your images should look exactly the same, just slid over. I ain't forgot, I just don't want to go get them. And I'm trying not to interrupt the video. So that should be your image after the translation. X plus 5, Y plus 7. Now you can do it using math like I did. I do this only when my numbers are bigger like these, cause like, and sometimes we give y'all some crazy numbers. We'll say X plus 10, Y minus 14 or something. That's a lot of stuff to count on the graph. But when your numbers are smaller, these aren't that bad, 5 and 7, but they could be even smaller than this. You could just count and get your points too, instead of doing all that math I did out to the side. Like if you graph your original image, and then the mapping rule is plus 5, plus 7 like this, so it's X plus 5. Changing X is horizontal. I hope everybody knows that. This is my X axis. Let me label my axis so y'all know. X axis, Y axis. My change in X is always horizontal. This is telling you my horizontal change. It's basically saying whatever my X values are, I should add 5 to those. Or in this case, move to the right 5. The positive direction on the X axis is to the right. And then for my Y, it's saying Y plus 7. Telling me to go up 7. So if I wanted to, when I had this original image, I could have just counted this if I wanted and got to my points. Just go point by point. But I could have started at Q and said, okay, I'm going to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop there, then I'm going up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to land me where Q is. And that's why I would have put my Q prime at. Then I would have did the same thing for R, S, and T. You just got to do it 4 different times with your counts. So I would start with R next and did the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I would have went up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that would have landed me where my R is. You just have to once again count it 4 times. I don't know if you want to do that. I don't know if you find counting easier or doing the calculations easier. Whichever way you see it, do it. I don't care as long as you do it and get it right. That's good for me. And get my new coordinates afterwards. Only thing that doing the calculations helps is, like I say, once you add, you automatically get your coordinates and you just got to plot it. On this one, you got to count, and then after that, you got to go back and read your coordinates out so you can write them over here for yourself. You still got to give me your coordinates as the answers. Whichever way you find easier, use it. Don't matter to me. Just use one of them and get my coordinates correct. On the back, let me do number 1. I'm going to have y'all do number 2. Graph and label each figure in its image under the given translation. Give the new coordinates. Number 1 says rhombus, JKLM with vertices, and it gives you the points. And then the mapping rule for that one says XY maps to X plus 2, Y minus 2. These numbers are a little smaller. This may be one that you might want to count. It's up to you, though. You make that decision for yourself. I'm going to still do the addition and subtraction just so y'all can see it. But if you want to count it, you can. I'm going to show you the other way, just on the string. So labeling, plot my first points. -4, 7. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 7. 0, 8. -1, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3. So you have J, K, L, M. Put those on, and I'm gonna write my originals out here. J was at -4, 7. K was at 0, 8. L was at -1, 4. M was at -5, 3. Like I said, tell you X plus 2, Y minus 2. X values, I'm adding 2 to all those. I'm gonna purple it. +2, +2, +2, +2. Y values, subtracting 2. And if you want to do the count, so you can have it up here, X plus 2 means go to the right 2. Y minus 2 means go down 2. -4 plus 2. -2. 7 minus 2. 5. 0 plus 2, 2. 8 minus 2, 6. Negative 1 plus 2, 1. 4 minus 2, 2. Negative 5 plus 2, negative 3. And 3 minus 2, 1. Your points, graph them, you should have your image. Make sure you put the notations on there so I know which one is which. So negative 2 up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's okay if your images overlap sometime. Depending on how small the transformation is, they may do that. This one's starting out by overlapping. K 2 6. Yeah, 1 up 2. M is at negative 3 up 1. And make sure you put your prime notation on your new stuff. Missed. That's my image after translation of x plus 2, y minus 2. So I want you to do number 2. It says where the vertices of translation, this is vector notation, says negative 3, 8, triangle CDE with the vertices, and it tells you the points. So you make that triangle and translate it x minus 3, y plus 8. Do that one.
No, sir.
Don't sit in your seat, man. Faith, come back with me too. So number 3 and 4 are the last two on the page. They're asking us at this point to write a rule describing the translation below. This is why it's important for you to label so you'll know which is which. So as they label, I automatically know which is which. Juan, let me ask you. The one to the left or the right, Juan, is the pre-image. Which one, left or the right? You need me to ask the question again? Okay.
Oh, I ain't see the
one on the left is the pre-image.
I see the prime mark.
That's why it's important for you to do the prime marking when you do yours, so you'll know. So the one on the left is the pre-image. That's the one we're starting with. The final image is the one on the right with the notations. We got to figure out how they got there, and that's when we can write a translation rule. To figure out how they got there, you just pick any 2 points that are the same, like D and D prime or E and E prime. Those points are corresponding. I'm gonna use that word again. This is where we get corresponding stuff from. D and D prime are in corresponding positions, right? Same position, just on maybe different lines here. E and E prime corresponding as well. F and F prime are corresponding. If that's the case, I'm gonna just count from D to D prime. I only got to do it once. So to get from D to D prime, you move horizontally first. And horizontally, do I move to the left or the right? To the right, right? That's the positive direction. I hope you understand that. The right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for my X, my change in X is going to be +7. And then I find my change in Y. To get up to D prime, I'm going to have to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a +4. That's my change in Y. Change in X, +7. Change in Y, +4. After you get the count, all you need to do is the mapping rule after that. Juan, you going to be able to write the mapping rule for me? You can try. Want Reese to do it? Not yet. Reese? You gotta start. That ain't how it start though.
Is it Y? It is X +7.
That's not how it starts.
Is it X, Y?
X, Y maps to now.
And then it's
X +7 and Y +4. That would be the mapping rule for this translation up here. And like I said, you can pick any 2 points and do the count. If you're to pick E and E prime, you're going to get the same count. Pick F and F prime, you're going to get the same count there. What you opening this up for, man? What's up? Alright. Messing up my video. I'm about to snap on a kid. The next one. Mike. We're writing a rule describing the translation below. Mike, first question, same thing I threw to Juan. They kind of stack close together, Mike, but you can see them. The one on the left or right, which one is my pre-image?
Right.
Say it again.
Right.
The one on the right? Good. Yeah, that is my pre-image. So we're trying to get to the one to the left, the image. We know this based on the notation. So once again, you can pick any 2 points you want to count. You gotta make sure you're doing your count, you're doing it correctly. This is my pre-image here, Mike. I'm gonna do M to M prime. To get from M to M prime, Mike, I gotta do change in X first. Am I going to the left or the right? To the left, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'd be represented as what when I write the number in, Mike?
X.
Just the number. What number should I write here?
Oh,
-4. And then to get to vertically to get to M prime, I'm moving up or down, Mike? How many? So 1, 2. What number should I put for that? Huh? Okay, plus 2. 2 or plus 2. Yeah, I'll take it. Alright, so Mike, when we writing, write the mapping rule. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Alright, if y'all can get that, I promise you translations don't get no harder than that.